Today we are talking about the power of self-awareness, right? What is self-awareness? This is something that I personally feel like a lot of people don't do because many people go through life unconsciously. Many people go through this life living on the program that we are set in living in our world today, right? So today we are starting with what is self-awareness, right? This is also a word that gets thrown around over and over and over. So the first thing for me when it comes down to self-awareness is self-awareness is you being consciously aware of your thoughts, your feelings, emotions, and your behaviors in real time, right? Being able to identify what are you thinking, right? To me, that is you being self-aware. What emotions are you feeling? What feelings are you feeling in your body? And are you able to recognize them? Are you able to describe the type of emotions that you are feeling in your body? To me, that is self-awareness, right? Because from that space, when you're able to recognize the emotions that you're feeling, and not only recognize the emotions that you're feeling, but to be able to describe the emotions that you're feeling, right? It shows a deeper awareness of self. And again, this is something that takes time. Self-awareness takes time. Self-awareness is something that it's a journey that one continues to go on, just like healing, right? Healing is a lifetime journey that you go on. However, when you practice it over and over, it's just like any skill, you get better at it. So when it comes down to self-awareness, a description from my perspective is self-awareness is you being consciously aware of what emotions you're feeling, what feelings you're feeling in your body, what thoughts are coming in and out of your mind, and the behavior patterns that you find yourself in, right? And I just want to say this, I am going to be talking in this space not as if I am the master of all of these topics that I'm going to bring on this platform. This is something I'm going to reiterate over and over. However, I am talking about this from a perspective of a student, right? Because I feel like to become the master or to be the master, you must be the student first. And that is how I'm going to be approaching this conversation. Because I too myself, I am on this journey to learning who I am, to learning myself and understanding who I am, right? So please do keep an open mind that this is just my perspective and how I see things in this world. Another way that you can understand self-awareness, or what is self-awareness, when you ask yourself that question, to me, self-awareness is understanding your core self, right? It's going within yourself and understanding who are you? Who are you without labels that you have labeled yourself with, right? Who are you without your job? Who are you without your friends, your family members, your children, right? Who are you at the core of yourself, inside of you? Right? That is what self-awareness brings out. Self-awareness allows you to go within yourself and understand the divine being that you are internal, right? In your internal self, right? Self-awareness allows you, right? When we talk about what is self-awareness allows you to understand that your thoughts and your emotions are not who you are. Therefore, it allows you not to judge yourself, right? Self-awareness creates that space for you to have empathy and vulnerability so that you do not judge yourself when those emotions show up, right? Another answer for me when I ask myself what is self-awareness, right? Self-awareness isn't a one-time journey like I mentioned earlier. self-awareness is a lifetime thing that you continue to go on, you continue to practice. And that is the beauty of understanding what self-awareness is. You understand that you are not perfect. The way that you show up in this world, it's never going to be perfect, right? The things that you do are not going to be perfect. However, you can still give yourself empathy and grace and compassion in understanding that this is a skill that you have to practice over and over and over. We're going to turn the page here and we are going to get into the benefits of self-awareness, right? Why am I sitting here talking about self-awareness? Why is this topic so important, right? In my opinion, becoming self-aware is literally one of the keys on how we can unlock the divine being within ourselves. So what is the benefit of self-awareness, right? The first thing for me is clarity. Self-awareness provides you the opportunity to find clarity in your thoughts, right? To find clarity in your emotion. Self-awareness provides you the opportunity to become clear when it comes down to how you react in the world and how you want to show up in this world, right? That is what awareness allows you to do, right? That is the benefit of self-awareness, right? Self-awareness allows you to be able to clear your thoughts and clear space for you to truly download what you want for yourself, right? Again, it's a process, it's a journey, and I'm going to say that over and over, right? Self-awareness provides you with the opportunity to be able to separate your thoughts from your emotions, and separate your emotions from your body, and separate your body from your core being, because you are not your body, you are not your thoughts, you are not your feelings, you are not the things that happen to you, you are not the things that you have done, right? Society doesn't push this idea out there as often as it should, but you are not the things that have happened to you. You are not your trauma, you are not your pain, you are not your circumstances, you are not your financial bank account, you are not the family member that you think you are, right? You are a sum of all of those things, but that is not who you truly are at your core. And one of the most important questions that self-awareness is going to allow you to ask yourself is, who are I? Right? That is the most important question anyone can ask themselves. Who am I? Right? If you are listening to this conversation, write down on a piece of paper, ask yourself this question: who am I? And take away your job, take away the titles that you have given yourself, take away the name that you were given to at birth or assigned to at birth, right? Take away all of these worldly things and ask yourself, who am I at my core, right? That is where you're going to find out who you truly are. And also you're going to find out what is your mission here on earth. What is your purpose here on earth, right? That's how powerful self-awareness is, right? The next thing that self-awareness allows you to know, or the benefit of self-awareness is, it allows you to understand your triggers. Self-awareness allows you to understand your triggers, right? So when people trigger you, you are not just reacting, right? When you are aware of yourself, when somebody triggers you, you can pause, you can take a break, right? You can process whatever is going on, and then you can respond, right? In today's society, many people are just, reacting, right? Many people are not responding to the situation because we have been trained to react, not respond, right? Because many people also don't know who they are when it comes into the true core. So they react based on the programming that the system has put us in, right? They react based on the programming that the environment has allowed them to be in. They react based on the society, right? The society pressure how we think we're supposed to show up, how we think we're supposed to sound, how we think we're supposed to act, right? We react based on what society has given to us, right? That's why self-awareness is so important, and the benefit of self-awareness goes a long way, right? It goes a long way. So another reason why self-awareness is important is that it allows you to have a better relationship. When you become aware, right? When you become aware of who you are, right? You allow yourself to have better relationship. And when I talk about better relationship, I'm not only talking about the relationship you have with your friends. I'm not only talking about the relationship you have with your spouse. I'm not talking about the relationship you have with your job, your community, right? Those are all important. But I'm speaking about the relationship you have with yourself. That is the benefit of self-awareness, right? Because the relationship you have with yourself is the most important relationship you can have in this world. That is the most important relationship anyone in this world can create. Because if you don't have a relationship with yourself, especially a loving, caring, empathetic, compassionate relationship, right? If you do not have that kind of relationship with yourself, right? Other relationships around you doesn't fully, merge into who you are, right? Sometimes one of the things that I kind of notice is when I didn't have a relationship with myself, I had to wear a mask, right? I had to mask how I was feeling. I had to shut my voice down. I had to slow my pace down. Sometimes I have to hide myself because why? I didn't want to show the true me. Right? I didn't want to allow me to feel as if I was vulnerable because I didn't trust myself, because I didn't have a relationship with who I am, right? But when you have awareness of who you are, you build a strong relationship with yourself. And when you are able to build a strong relationship with yourself, right, you now be able to manage the other relationship that you have with the people around you. If you're watching, drop some comments in the comment section. Let me know where you are with yourself when it comes down to self-awareness, right? How aware are you of yourself? Do you have any comment based on what I am saying, right? Do you have any thoughts about this conversation as well? Another reason why self-awareness is so important is that it allows you to set boundaries. And for an African girl like myself, boundaries is not a thing, right? We don't have boundaries in our homes. We don't have boundaries in our villages, right? Because we come from a culture where it's us together, right? We come from that culture where we stick our nose and our foot into everybody's business, right? We come from a culture where your mother-in-law or your sister-in-law or your brother-in-law has the same right to tell you X, Y, and Z, right? We come from that culture. But when you become aware of yourself, you are able to set healthy boundaries that work for you, right? One of the things that, we don't do in my African culture is that we don't talk about mental health, right? We don't prioritize mental health. We don't think about our own mental health. We don't think mental health is a thing, right? But when you are aware of yourself and when you become aware of yourself, you start to understand that your mental health is important. Your mental health matters. You matter. And then you begin to set healthy boundaries that work for you, right? You set healthy boundaries that aligns with you, that fits who you are, right? That is the beauty of self-awareness, right? It allows you to set healthy boundaries that works for you. Whatever it's boundaries with your coworkers, your friends, your family, right? But there are boundaries that works for you because you become aware of who you are. So, let's say a comment that just showed up, it says, most of the time people doesn't know their potentials. Yes, I do agree. And I believe that it's for this reason, right? It's because people aren't aware of how much power they carry within themselves, right? People aren't aware of what they truly have inside of them, who they truly are. We don't, like, society doesn't push the concept of the fact that we are God, right? We are all pieces of the universe. We are all part of that divine creation. If we come from that divine creation, then therefore we are the creators of our life, right? And that's where self-awareness comes in. When you become aware of yourself, right, you then understand that you are the creator of your life, right? You are the creator of every single thing that happens to you. Whether if you are aware of it or you're not aware of it. Whether if you are creating unconsciously or you are creating unconsciously, right? What if you're creating, did I say consciously and then unconsciously, right? Because those are the only two ways we can literally create in this world. We can either create consciously or we can create unconsciously. And because of the programming, the system that we are in, right, it has allowed many of us to fall into that unconscious programming where we are creating our life unconsciously. I also too fall into these patterns sometimes. Sometimes I find myself repeating the same patterns over and over and over, even though I am aware of these concepts, right? It is hard. Breaking your limited belief is hard. Breaking yourself away from the programming that we have been indoctrinated to be in is challenging, right? Because the body gets used to that type of programming over and over, right? The body gets used to what society has pushed onto us. So breaking away from that concept is hard, and that is why self-awareness is so crucial, right? That is why self-awareness needs to be at the forefront of everything we do, because the more you become aware of who you are as a being, right, the more you become aware of what is within you, the more you become aware of the fact that you are the creator of your life, right, then the more conscious choices you begin to make, right? The more conscious choices you start to make for yourself, right? The more you can set healthy boundaries, the better the self-relationship becomes, right? The more you can be able to identify your thoughts from your emotions to your limited beliefs or your belief system, right? The more aware you become of yourself, the more you understand that your mind is not who you think you are, right? You are not who you think you are. The next reason why self-awareness, right, is important is that it allows you to have control of your emotions, right? When you are able to have control over your emotions, right, now you can control the way you react. When someone triggers you, right, you are not just spazzing out, you're not just reacting, right? You can allow yourself to take a break, take a step back and say, hold up, why did this person trigger me? Or why did this trigger me the way it did, right? Because oftentimes when people trigger us, and that's why it's called a trigger, right? When people trigger us, it's not because they are, pushing something onto us. Sometimes, yes, they are. However, for the most part, if someone says something or does something and it triggers you and it allows you to become upset in a way that makes you to be furious, right? You have to go within yourself and ask yourself, what is the seed in me that is allowing me to be upset, right? What part of this am I accepting, or what part of this is it true, right? What part of it is it true to who I am, Because when someone triggers you and it feels painful, it hurts, right? It's because there's some type of truth to it. Whether we want to admit it or not, it's because there is a little bit of truth in that trigger, right? And that's why self-awareness becomes so important. That's why self-awareness is so great, because when you're able to take that moment to do introspection, and you're able to take that moment to reflect and ask yourself, why did this trigger me? Now you begin to understand the patterns. You begin to understand why certain things trigger you, why certain people trigger you, right? We're going to move into the next part of our conversation, which is steps to create self-awareness, right? We're talking about self-awareness if you are just joining us right now. I believe that self-awareness is the path to finding our true core, is the path to developing and growing into the being that we want to be. It doesn't happen overnight, right? It's something that we work on over and over and over, including myself. This is still a journey that I am on, right? And I am continuing to learn about myself every single day. Sometimes I even surprise myself with what I feel like I know or what I can learn about myself, right? So self-awareness is a journey. So we're going to talk about some possible steps that you can take to become more aware of yourself. The first step that you want to take here is, daily check-ins, right? You want to do daily check-ins as often as possible. You want to check in the mornings, right? You want to check in with yourself in the mornings. You want to ask yourself, how am I feeling right now? What emotions are showing up for me, right? If you are feeling upset, if you are feeling sad, if you're feeling depressed, ask yourself, what is causing my depression, right? What is causing me to be sad? What is causing me to feel this low vibration emotion? And if you're feeling happy, because you're not always feeling sad, right? That is just how life is. There's a yin and the yang, right? There's the duality, right? You have to have a balance, and everybody goes through the life cycle, right? Where you're happy, sad, depressed, anxious, fear. Those are all normal emotions, right? So when you wake up in the morning and you're doing your check-in with yourself to get a deeper understanding of who you are, right? You want to ask yourself, how am I feeling in this morning? This morning, right? What thoughts are showing up in my head? What am I thinking, right? What do I want for my day? How do I want my day to unfold? What do I want to see in my day? Again, this is a journey, this is a process. Just because you ask yourself this question doesn't mean that you're going to get the answers. Let's just be real here, right? Just because you ask yourself questions about who you are, what you want out of this life, doesn't mean that you are going to get the answers immediately. Sometimes you do, and sometimes you don't. And that is where self-awareness comes in, is being okay with not knowing as well, right? Because sometimes you are not going to get the answers, and you're not going to know, and you have to be okay in being in that space. And that is where self-awareness comes in. Right. So the morning check-in is extremely important. And then the next thing is the midday check-in, right? You want to check in with yourself. If you're at work, ask yourself, how was my morning? How am I feeling during the day, right? If you had a conversation with somebody, ask yourself, how was this conversation with this person? Did it allow me to feel good about myself? Did it allow me to feel happy about who I am, right? Did it feel good when I interact with this person? Because sometimes we might be having conversation with people, and if we are not aware of the energy that they are bringing to us, we leave that conversation feeling drained. We leave that conversation feeling overwhelmed. We leave that conversation feeling as if something is missing. We leave the conversation feeling as if, worse than when we went into the conversation, right? And that's where self-awareness comes in, because when you begin to become aware of yourself and you become aware of the interactions that you're having, right? Now we talked about setting boundaries. Now you're able to set boundaries around certain people that you feel like the conversations are not healthy, right? The conversations are not motivational. The conversations are not pushing you. They're not uplifting, right? Now you're able to set boundaries with yourself, right? What if it's at work, with your friends, your family member, right? Whoever that is bringing a certain type of energy to you, right? Now you're able to set healthy boundaries that would allow you to feel good, right? Because most of the time, again, like I said, we are unaware of the energy that other people bring to us. So when you do your midday check-in and you are going through your morning, right? Ask yourself deep questions. And please do not try to answer the questions in that moment. Don't force it. That's what I'm saying. The answers will come to you. Let it come to you, because that is the most important part, right? Many times we try to force answers to come to us. No, let it come to you, right? Because that is the true answer you want, right? Because sometimes our minds could play games on us. Our minds could play tricks on us, and it would tell us what we want to hear. And I would give you this little piece of secret for money of mine that works for me. A lot of times when I do check-ins, right, my subconscious program is going to spit something out at me, right? Immediately. When I ask myself something, it's just going to spit something out at me. I don't ignore that thought, but I let it be, and I say, that right there is the programming, right? Because that is when, that is what our subconscious mind has programmed to spit out, right? Oftentimes it spit out the thing that will make us feel good. Oftentimes it spit out the things that is going to protect our feelings, our emotions, our ego, right? That is what your subconscious mind is there to do most of the time. It's there to find the most easiest way to get you out of the problem, right? And sometimes it's good, but sometimes it is not healthy, especially when you're trying to get to know who you are at your true core, right? And the last check-in that you want to do with yourself is you want to do an evening check-in, right? You want to check in about your day. You want to try to understand how your day went, right? How you felt throughout the day. And this is some of the ways that you can do a little bit of check-ins with yourself, right? To become more aware with yourself. I talked about 3 ways right now. You can do a check-in in the mornings, you could do a check-in in the afternoon, and you can do a check-in in the evening as well. Now we're going to move into the second method of on how you can create self-awareness, right? The second method is creating mindfulness meditation or mindfulness practice, however you want to go about this, right? Is you want to create a sacred moment for yourself, whatever it's 1 minute, 5 minutes, 30 seconds, 15 minutes, 30 minutes, right? You want to be able to create a moment for yourself where you become mindful of what you're thinking, right? Being able to pause your day and ask yourself and sit with yourself and let those thoughts arise from within you allows you to become more mindful of yourself, right? So that's how you can be more mindful of who you are, is by taking moment for yourself and creating moments to create a mindful meditation or a mindful practice for yourself. And sometimes mindfulness look a little bit different for everyone, right? Sometimes some people like to sip on their coffee while they just, sit in silence, right? Sometimes people like to go on walks and just take that moment to allow their thoughts process to, happen naturally, right? Some people like to listen to meditation. Some people like to sit in silence, right? Whatever works for you. The goal is to get to a space where you become aware of yourself, right? You become aware of yourself beyond your subconscious mind and beyond your conscious mind, right? You want to be able to get in between the conscious and the unconscious mind. That is where true self-awareness truly happens, right? Another way of you becoming, aware of yourself is journaling, right? This is no secret. When you write down your thoughts, right, you free your mind. And not only do you free your mind, you're able to see your thoughts. It looks tangible, right? You're able to see what you wrote down. And when you're able to see that, right, you can now begin to digest what you wrote down. When you're able to see it, it's not just now an idea in your mind. It's not just a thought anymore, right? When you write down your thoughts and you journal down your thoughts, right, you can now begin to break through the patterns that you see reoccurring, right? Because again, we are machines, right? The mind is a machine. The mind goes on the programming and it repeats the same thing over and over and over. And again, that is not a bad thing because that is how we learn, right? To be able to learn something, you want to repeat it over and over and over because that's how you master it. And I'm going to state this again in this conversation. I am speaking in this way, and I'm talking about this topic not to say that I am the master of this topic. Moreover, I'm the student, and that's the perspective that I want to continue to push out there, right? Because I feel like the more we approach, or the more I approach life from a student perspective, the more open I feel, right? The more I feel like I can learn more. And then when you write down your thoughts, when it comes down to becoming aware, going back into the topic that we have been talking about, right? You understand what triggers your emotions, right? When you're able to journal, now you're able to find out what are the triggers, what is causing you to feel pain, what is causing you to get angry, what is causing you to be sad? What is causing you to be depressed? What is causing you to be anxious, right? Because all of these things that I'm mentioning are not bad. Depression is not bad. Anxiety is not bad. Sadness is not bad. Loneliness is not bad. Those are all part of the human experience, right? But society has made it to seem as if it is such a bad thing. Those are not bad, especially when you are going through the birthing process, especially when you're going through a rebuilding phase, especially when you are looking to find who you truly are, when you are trying to become more aware of yourself. Those are all emotions that you will experience on your journey. You will experience sadness. You will experience loneliness. You will go through some form of depression in a way, right? Because that is the process where you unpeel, you unravel whatever package, right, that society has put you in, and you say, no, this is not me. And when you are becoming somebody new, right, when you are becoming your true identity, your true self, your authentic self, that is a painful process, right? It is painful to heal. Healing is not easy, and that is why many people don't go through that journey, because it is painful, right? And when something is painful, it allows you to grow, right? There's so much beauty in pain, right? And when you become aware of yourself, you understand that all of these emotions are not bad, right? All of these emotions are not bad. They are only bad if you let yourself think that they are bad, right? If you let yourself think that, oh, the pain that I'm feeling is bad. Oh, this anxiety that I'm feeling is bad. Oh, this sadness that I'm feeling is bad, right? All of these emotions are not bad. And that is why self-awareness is super crucial, because when you're able to recognize those emotions in yourself and you are able to label, right? When you're able to label those emotions, you take the power in your hands, right? But when you don't know what emotions you're feeling, it feels foggy, it feels cloudy, it feels muddy, right? It feels as if you are lost. It feels as if you are just floating, right? And that is why self-awareness is so important, especially if you're looking to build something for yourself, because you want to build something that aligns with you, that aligns with your mission, that aligns with your purpose, that aligns with your divine self, right? You want to build something that speaks to your heart, that speaks to your soul. And that's why self-awareness is extremely important. You know, as we come to the end of our conversation here, I just want to remind us that this year is a year of growth. It's a year of healing. It's a year of us taking actions. It's a year of us creating the life that we actually want, right? This year is a year of us creating, what we came here to do. Because me personally, I believe that every single one of us came to this world with a mission, with a purpose, right? Every single one of us entered this world with something that was already placed in our hearts, right? There's a reason why we're all here. I know that this world is crazy. I know that there's so much pain. I know that there's so much drama. There's so much chaos that is going on in the world. I understand that. And that's why I continue to encourage us and as self-reflection, right? To go down that path of self-reflection and to become aware. Because when we become aware, we understand that we are one consciousness, right? We are one being. And, and when we live from that perspective, right? We understand that once we hurt the world, once we hurt other people, we internal hurt ourselves, or in turn we are hurting ourselves, right? And that's a beautiful thing about being aware. When you become aware to that perspective, when you become aware to that fact, when you become aware to the consciousness that we are all one consciousness, we are all one program, we are all one, like one piece, right? We are all God. We all come from the universe. We're all parts and pieces of the universe. When you become aware of that perspective, then you realize that the pain and the trauma that we continue to push out there into the world, it is just us hurting ourselves back, right? Everything that is going on in this world is just a projection. We are merely projecting what we have within us, So the more aware we become, right, the more aware we become of ourselves, the more aware we become of each other, and the more we begin to see each other as one, right? The more we begin to function from a global consciousness perspective. And that's where I'm trying to encourage us to go. That's where this year is asking us to do, is to raise the vibration of this world, raise the frequency of this world. That's what this world is asking for right now. That's what God is asking for, if you believe in God. If you don't believe in God, that's what the universe is asking for. If you don't believe in the universe, that's what the Creator is asking for. If you don't believe in that, that's what the ocean, the air, the sea, the land, right? That's what your ancestors are asking for, is to raise your vibration, raise your frequency in this year. Raise your vibration, raise your frequency. We are at a level of consciousness that we understand how energy works in this world. Not everybody might understand it, but we are in a space right now that the more we continue to vibrate on a higher frequency, on a higher vibration, right, the more that life feels lighter. The more people become aware of who they are, the more people begin to do things that align with them, do things that feels good with their internal self, the more people begin to function less of their pain body and begin to function from the higher consciousness perspective. So thank you guys again so much for joining me on this conversation. I do hope that I'll be back again next Sunday here. If you want to join me on this live next Sunday, please save the time. I should show up between, I want to say 1 to 3 o'clock every Sunday. That's my goal, to show up between 1 to 3. And if you want to catch me on Facebook or on TikTok, I will be there between 10 a.m. to 12. So somewhere in between there, I'll be there. I'm still trying to narrow the time down to where I can tell you guys exactly what time I'm going to be showing up. So, you know, if you want to continue to follow this journey, you want to continue to learn some healing mechanisms, some healing tools, or you just want to continue to be around good vibration, good energy, right? Join my live sessions, you know. And if you have any questions about mental health, self-care, self-love, self-healing, motivation, inspiration, right? Come and ask your question. If you have a challenge that you're facing in your life and you want, you know, us to dive into that conversation, come, bring your challenge, bring that pain, bring that struggle, and let's dive into it together, right? Also, in this moment, I want to you know, let you know I am offering coaching services when it comes down to emotional healing, when it comes down to self-healing, when it comes down to understanding yourself, understanding your mind, breaking away from your limited beliefs, your patterns, your habits, right? When it comes down to you making a shift in your life, if you want that for yourself in this 2026, right? DM me. Send me a DM on Instagram or on TikTok. My handle is the same, LIRA_NDIFON. I am looking to create a WhatsApp group in the future, and also a Substack where you can watch more videos of self-healing, self-talk, motivation, right? Like this, you know, believe in yourself, trust yourself, right? Trust the journey that you're on. Know that you are here for a purpose. Know that you are here for a reason. Know that you did not just show up in this world just because, right? Know that you are here because God wanted you to be here. Know that you are here because you choose to be here. And there is a greater purpose why you're here. So believe in yourself. When fear comes, when doubt comes, when anxiety show up, let it be. It's okay. Those are all part of the human experience. And that is one thing I am going to continue to push here over and over and over, you know. But I will ask, right, as we look to take off the mask that we wear in society, as we look to break down ourselves and become aligned with true divine being that we are, I will ask, whatsoever you do, let it be with pure intention. Let it be of good faith, honest, good faith within yourself. You know, let that be that way, right? Because that is where you connect with your true self, because you're at your core, at our core, every single one of us, it's love, right? That is who we are at our core. So whatsoever you do, let it be done with pure intention. Raise the vibration of this world, raise the frequency. Be one of millions that want good for this world, right? If everybody's going left, if everybody's fighting, killing one another, suppressing each other, be that one person that raised the frequency. Despite how painful it might feel, despite how lonely it might feel, despite how challenging it may feel, right? Keep growing. This is a journey. Like I said, I am still on this journey. And that's why I come here and talk about things like this, because these are the type of things that I too am still learning, right? Thank you again. Just real quick, I want to look in the comment section. It says, thank you. I appreciate that. I would DM you. Yes, for sure. DM me on here. And also, yes, I am on TikTok. It's the same name, Lira, LIRA_NDIFON. That is me. So DM me. You know, if you want a coaching session, one-on-one coaching session. I'm not doing group coaching sessions yet, but if you want one-on-one coaching session when it comes down to understanding the innate being that you are, and also understanding your emotions, patterns, behavior, and anything else that would allow you to grow from within yourself, right? Let me, DM me. Let's see if we can work together. All right, I will look for your DM for sure. I'll look for your DM. All right, guys, thank you guys so much for joining me on this live session. I'm so grateful that I'm here. Again, just to wrap it up, our conversation, we were talking about the power of self-awareness, right? Especially if you're looking to build something this year, right? Awareness is the key, right? Know what you want. The most important question you can ask yourself in today's world is, who am I? That is the most important question you can ask yourself. Who am I? And if you have your answers, drop your answers in the comment section. Let me know who you think you are. This video I'm also going to post on my timeline, so it's going to be there for you to revisit it as well. Thank you guys so much again. If you have yet to subscribe to Self-Reflection Podcast, go ahead and hit the subscription button. Subscribe to our channel. You can find us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, SoundCloud, and any other platform you get your podcast on. Also, you can find full videos of Self-Reflection Podcast on our YouTube channel, Self-Reflection Podcast by Lira Ndifon. You can just Google Self-Reflection Podcast, and I believe we are the first one that shows up. Pretty cool stuff. So check out Self-Reflection Podcast if you want more conversations like this. We try to bring people on the podcast that are going to support you on your growth and your journey as well. I hope you guys have a phenomenal day. Believe in yourself, trust yourself, believe in every single goal that you have going on this year. Let's go, let's win. You know what I'm saying? And you don't want to win for the world, you want to win for the internal being, right? You want to find peace for yourself. Let's win. I believe in you. I trust in you. I trust in yourself. I trust in what you got going on. I trust in the goals that you are going to accomplish this year. This is a year for us to grow, take actions, and I believe in you. I see beautiful things happening for you this year. I do. I see beautiful things happening for you this year. So trust that. Don't let it go. Okay. Bye, guys. Thanks.